my desperate aunt hooked up with every guy I brought home for 10 years until I started dating the pastor from her church. Imagine spending 10 years convinced you're fundamentally broken, that something about you makes every man walk away. You question everything, change everything, all while a sinister shadow quietly unravels your life, piece by heartbreaking piece. That was my reality, until one shocking Tuesday the truth ripped through my world, exposing a betrayal so deep it still makes my blood run cold. My name is Amber, I'm 28 now, but this story really began when I was just 18. I was head over heels for my first real boyfriend, Marcus. He had this smile that could melt ice, and after 2 months, I was brave enough to bring him home for Sunday dinner. I remember the knot in my stomach, not just from meeting my parents, but also my Aunt Linda. She was my mom's younger sister, about 38 then, recently divorced, and living in our guest house, temporarily, Mom's words. 10 years later, she's still there. That night, Linda answered the door in a low-cut red dress, completely out of place for a casual family meal. She looked Marcus up and down like he was dessert, and I, being young and naive, just brushed it off. Dinner was okay. Marcus charmed my parents, made my dad laugh with some engineering joke. Linda, though, was quiet, just watching him with these intense, unsettling eyes. 3 weeks later, Marcus broke up with me. "It's not you, it's me. I need to focus on school." All the usual lines. I was devastated, spent 2 weeks crying, listening to sad songs, writing terrible poetry. Then, a month after that, at 2 in the morning, I saw his beat-up Honda parked outside our guest house. My heart hammered against my ribs. I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence, a car that looked like his, but deep down I knew. I just buried it, told myself I was crazy. Then came Jake. He worked at the bookstore with me, loved reading, he was sweet and funny. We talked for hours. After 6 weeks, I brought him home. Linda was there, this time in tight jeans and a blouse that left little to the imagination. She hung on his every word, laughed a little too loud at his jokes, touched his arm, even asked him to help her move some boxes in the guest house. My gut screamed, but I ignored it. 2 months later, Jake dumped me. Needed space, needed to find himself. And his car? 3 times, parked outside the guest house, late at night. This wasn't a pattern, it was a ritual. Tyler at 21, dumped me after 3 months, his car at Linda's 4 times. Connor at 23 to 2.5 months, motorcycles seen twice. Brandon at 25, exactly 3 months, broke up with me by text and his truck was at Linda's the very next night. Each time, I spiraled deeper into self-doubt. I convinced myself I was paranoid, making connections that weren't there, that my aunt couldn't be this cruel, that these men wouldn't betray me. But the relationships kept ending, always around the same time, always with those flimsy excuses, always followed by the haunting sight of their vehicles outside Linda's. My self-esteem was shattered. I truly believed I was unlovable. I went to therapy, worked on my abandonment issues, my self-worth. All the while, Linda would hug me, tell me I was beautiful, that the right guy would come along, pretending to be the supportive aunt. My mom, bless her heart, always defended Linda, saying she'd been through so much. She was fragile. Linda never worked a real job in those 10 years. She just lived off my parents' kindness, free housing, free food, even cash. And she repaid them by systematically dismantling my romantic life, all behind their backs and mine. I stopped dating for a while, completely burned out. I poured myself into my career, my friends, tried to convince myself I was fine being single. But I wasn't. I was lonely, terrified I'd never find lasting love. Then, 6 months ago, something shifted. My mom became obsessed with a new church and dragged Linda along. Linda, who'd complained endlessly about boredom and religion, eventually succumbed to my mom's persistence. I didn't go, but then Mom guilt-tripped me into attending a special service. That's where I met him. Pastor David. He wasn't the stuffy old man I'd imagined. He was 35, attractive, funny, engaging. After the service, Mom practically beamed as she introduced us. He was kind, listened, remembered details. He wasn't like other guys. We started running into each other at his favorite coffee shop. Small talk grew into real conversations. He was smart, thoughtful, and had this dry humor that caught me off guard. He asked me to lunch, then dinner, and suddenly, I was on a real date for the first time in years. It was perfect. We talked for hours, shared dreams, laughed. He held my hand, and when he kissed me goodnight, my heart raced in a way I'd almost forgotten. We started dating, and for the first time, I felt a fragile, hopeful peace. I kept it quiet, not wanting to jinx it. But after a month, David suggested we tell people, especially since Mom went to his church. I called her. "It's Pastor David, Mom." A long silence. She sounded odd, not thrilled. I brushed it off, figured she was just processing. The next Sunday, I went to church with David. Everyone was congratulating us. My mom was distracted. And Linda? She barely spoke to me, but she watched David during his sermon. Not with admiration like everyone else, but with an intense, almost predatory gaze that sent a shiver down my spine. A cold dread started to settle in. That night at David's apartment, his phone buzzed. An unknown number, "We should talk." Then another, "I've been thinking about you." And another, "Call me when you're alone." David was disturbed. He blocked the number, but they kept coming from different ones. He had no idea who it was. Meanwhile, Linda's behavior grew stranger. She'd coincidentally show up at David's coffee shop, finding excuses to be at the church when he was there, volunteering for things she'd never cared about. She started dressing up, more makeup, tighter clothes. Mom even commented that Linda was coming out of her shell. I felt sick. The pattern was emerging, but this time, Linda didn't have easy access to David. He wasn't coming over for family dinners. She was trying, though, and I could see it. 2 months into my relationship with David, right around the 3-month mark where everything always imploded, it happened. We were at David's, watching a movie, when someone knocked at almost 11 p.m. David answered, and I heard her voice. "David, I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm having a crisis of faith." Linda. My blood ran cold. I walked to the doorway. There she was, on his porch, in a dress completely inappropriate for the hour or the weather, with tears in her eyes. Fake tears. I'd seen them 100 times used to manipulate my mom. "Amber," she said, feigning surprise. "Oh, I didn't know you'd be here." "It's 11 at night, Linda." "Of course I'm here," I shot back. David looked incredibly uncomfortable. He tried to politely suggest. "She scheduled a meeting at the church." "I just really needed to talk to someone right now," she insisted. "It can't wait." "It can wait," I said, my voice firm. Something inside me snapped. 10 years of suspicion, hurt, and confusion erupted. I'm done taking breaths. I'm done pretending I don't see what's right in front of me. I stared her down. "How many of them were there? How many of my boyfriends did you sleep with?" Linda's face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Marcus, Jake, Tyler, Connor, Brandon," I rattled off, a decade of pain fueling my words. Should I keep going? Because I can. I have a whole list. "You're insane," she shrieked. "You're paranoid, and that's why none of them stayed with you." "Then explain why their cars were always at your place after they dumped me," I countered, my voice shaking but steady. "Explain why every single relationship ended the same way. Explain why you're here right now, dressed like that, making up some crisis just to get David alone." David stood between us, his face a mask of confusion, trying to process. "Amber, what is she talking about?" "Ask her," I said, eyes locked on Linda. "Ask her how she spent the last 10 years. Linda's mask cracked completely. The fake tears were gone, replaced by pure rage. "You have no proof of anything." "I have 10 years of proof." I exploded. "Cars parked outside your guest house at 2 a.m. Relationships that all ended the same way. The way you look at every man I bring around. And you showing up here tonight. This is ridiculous." Linda turned to David. "She's always been like this, dramatic, jealous. She can't accept that men just don't want her." That was it. That was the final insult. I pulled out my phone. You know what? I've been too scared to check. Too scared to confirm what I already knew. But I'm done being scared. I scrolled through my contacts. I still had some of their numbers. I started with Brandon. "Did you sleep with my Aunt Linda?" Then Tyler. Then Connor. David watched, stunned. Linda began to back away. "You're making a huge mistake, Amber. The only mistake I made was not doing this years ago." My phone buzzed. Brandon. Asterisk, how did you know? "I'm sorry. I was weak and she was aggressive, and I'm not proud of it. Asterisk, Tyler. Asterisk, yes, I'm ashamed. She pursued me hard, and I gave in. I'm sorry I hurt you. Asterisk, Connor. Yeah, sorry, I showed David the messages." His face cycled through confusion, shock, then pure disgust. "You need to leave," he told Linda, his voice quiet but firm. "And you need to stay away from Amber. And from me. And from this church." "You're going to take her side?" Linda spat, disbelief in her voice. "She's unstable." "I can see exactly what's happening here," David said. "And you're not welcome." Linda looked at me, pure venom in her eyes. You've ruined everything, you know that? No, I said, a wave of cold clarity washing over me. You ruined everything. For 10 years, you ruined everything. She peeled out of his driveway, tires squealing. David and I stood in the doorway, the silence thick and heavy. Are you okay? He asked. I wasn't. I was shaking, a whirlwind of anger, relief, and devastation. 10 years of gaslighting myself, believing I was the problem when it was her. All her. I need to tell my parents, I said. David came with me. It was almost midnight, but I didn't care. My mom, worried, opened the door. My dad came out too. In their living room, the same one where I'd introduced all those unsuspecting men to Linda, I told them everything. Every breakup, every car, the texts, Linda showing up tonight. Mom's face went from shock to sickly pale. Dad looked like he wanted to punch a wall. That can't be true, Mom whispered, her voice weak. Linda wouldn't. She's been through so much. She's been living rent-free in your guest house for 10 years, I said, my voice flat, while systematically sleeping with every man I tried to date. I showed them the texts. Dad stood up, walked outside, and I heard him pounding on the guest house door. Mom crumpled, tears streaming. I didn't know, Amber. I swear I didn't know. Didn't you? I asked, too tired to yell. You never thought it was strange that all my relationships ended the same way? You never wondered why Linda never moved out, never got a real job, never dated anyone herself? I thought she was depressed, Mom sobbed. I thought she needed time to heal. It's been 10 years, Mom. Dad came back inside. She's packing. She's leaving tonight. I don't care where she goes. Linda appeared in the doorway, a bag in her hand, makeup smudged, looking small and pathetic. This is my family, she shrieked at Mom. You're choosing her over me? You slept with my daughter's boyfriends, Mom said, her voice hollow. For years. How could you do that? Because she has everything. Linda screamed, the mask finally gone. Parents who love her, opportunities, a future. Everyone loves her. What do I have? A failed marriage, no career, no future. No one wants me. So you took it from me instead, I finished. I didn't take anything you could keep anyway. Linda spat. If they really loved you, they wouldn't have slept with me. But they all did. Every single one. They'd be with you, then they'd come to me and beg for it. Get out, Dad said, his voice terrifyingly calm. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Don't contact us. Don't contact Amber. If I see you near any of us again, I'm calling the police. For what? Having sex with grown men who wanted me. For harassment, David interjected, which I will be filing charges for if those texts continue. And I'll be filing a restraining order. Linda laughed bitterly. Perfect. The perfect couple. You deserve each other. She left. David and I drove back to my apartment. I need you to know something, he said, as we sat in his car. I'm not going anywhere. What she said about men not really wanting you. That's not true. That's never been true. You don't know that, I said, the doubts still clinging to me. Yes, I do, he insisted. Because I know you and I'm not going to disappear at the 3-month mark. What happened with those guys says nothing about you and everything about her. She's predatory. Manipulative. They were wrong to give in, but she's the one who pursued them. I wanted to believe him. But 10 years of conditioning isn't easy to shake. What if the pattern continues? Then we'll deal with it together, he said. But Amber, she's gone. She can't get to me. I'm changing my locks tomorrow. She's cut off. He was right. This was different. The pattern had been broken, not by time, but by exposure. The next morning, with David bringing coffee and bagels, a message buzzed on my phone. From Jake, one of the first boyfriends. Amber, I heard about what happened with your aunt. She contacted me tonight, trying to get me to lie for her. I told her no. I'm sorry for what I did back then. You deserved better. I showed David. She's trying to build a defense. Classic manipulation. Over the next few days, Linda tried everything. Crying calls to my mom, claiming I misunderstood. Accusations to my dad of unfair persecution. Emails to David's church, calling me unstable. David forwarded everything to his church board. They were supportive. A few members even admitted Linda had made them uncomfortable, but they hadn't known how to address it. My mom stopped answering Linda's calls. My dad blocked her. I blocked every number she used. Then, Linda made her biggest mistake. She showed up at David's church the next Sunday, not for service, but to make a scene. She was in the parking lot, handing out flyers to arriving churchgoers, a whole manifesto calling me a liar. David manipulated her, the real victim. It even had my private information. David immediately called the police. Linda saw us and started yelling. There they are, the perfect couple. Built on lies. Linda, you need to leave, David said, his voice calm amidst the chaos. The police are on their way. For what? Standing in a parking lot. Harassment, David stated. Distributing private information. Violating a restraining order. Linda's face went white. You haven't filed a restraining order. Actually, David said, pulling a paper from his pocket, I did on Thursday. You were served on Friday. 2 officers arrived. They escorted Linda off the property, screaming about religious persecution. David's sermon that day was on forgiveness and boundaries. It was the most powerful sermon I'd ever heard him preach. He talked about how forgiveness doesn't mean accepting abuse, how healthy relationships require respect, how love without boundaries becomes destruction. I cried through the whole thing. After the service, an older woman named Margaret approached me. Honey, I need to tell you something about your aunt. My stomach clenched. Margaret told me Linda had tried the same predatory tactics on David months ago, before we started dating. She'd constantly try to get him alone, sending inappropriate texts, until he set boundaries and had his assistant present. She'd only backed off when my mom, sensing Linda was too friendly, had a talk with her about appropriate behavior at church. My mom had just seen it as Linda being lonely, playing the victim. But Linda had tried to get David. And when she failed, and I succeeded, that's when her true malice unfurled. It clicked. It wasn't just about hurting me, it was about her desperate need for validation, for male attention, for winning a twisted competition against me, her own niece. She's been doing this her whole life, hasn't she? I said to David later. This isn't just about me. This is who she is. He nodded. People like Linda, they're deeply broken. I didn't want to feel sympathy, but I realized her life had become exactly what she feared, nothing. No family, no home, no dignity. She'd burned every bridge trying to fill a hole that couldn't be filled with stolen attention. The next few weeks were a blur. I'd changed my phone number. We heard Linda had moved away. The restraining order meant she couldn't come near us. My mom went to therapy, grappling with how she'd enabled her sister. My parents' relationship with me grew stronger, their apologies heartfelt. David and I kept dating. We passed the 3-month mark, then 4, then 5. No mysterious texts, no late-night visitors, no sudden breakups. It was strange at first, waiting for the other shoe to drop, but slowly, I started to believe this was real. 6 months into our relationship, at dinner, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My whole body tensed. David noticed. I opened it, bracing myself. It was Marcus, my first boyfriend. Amber, I heard about what happened with your aunt. What happened between us was the biggest mistake of my life. I was young and stupid and weak. I'm sorry I hurt you. You always deserved better. I showed David. I typed back. Thank you for the apology. I found happiness. I hope you have too. No anger, no lengthy explanation. Just acknowledgement. I'm proud of you, David said. For not letting what she did turn you bitter. For still being open to trusting people. For giving us a chance. I took his hand across the table. I almost didn't. I almost let her win. But you didn't, he smiled. That's what matters. 3 months later, 9 months into our relationship, David asked me to marry him. In the coffee shop where we'd first connected, he got down on one knee. It was perfect, cheesy, and exactly what I needed. I said yes. We called my parents. They were thrilled. David even suggested we send Linda an announcement. Why? I asked, confused. Because she needs to see that she didn't win, he said. That you're happy. That her attempts to destroy your life failed. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. I thought about it, then shook my head. No. The best revenge is living well and not caring if she knows about it. She doesn't deserve to be part of this moment, even as someone we're proving wrong. David smiled. You're right. That's healthier. Our wedding was beautiful. Drama-free. My parents were there, David's family, friends. And Rachel, Linda's abandoned daughter. I'd invited her after she'd reached out to me on Facebook, a private message warning me about Linda. She told me Linda had abandoned her at 12, always sought attention, manipulated and lied. She's done this to everyone in her life, Rachel said. This isn't about you. Her presence at our wedding felt like closing a circle, adding another layer of healing. No one mentioned Linda. She was simply not part of our story anymore. Or so I thought. 3 months after the wedding, I got a call from an unknown number. It was a detective. We've arrested Linda Chen for harassment and stalking. She'd continued her pattern with other men. I went with David and gave my statement. She was building a case against her, years of predatory behavior. Linda was sentenced to 2 years in jail, followed by 5 years probation with mandatory therapy. When they led her out of the courtroom, her eyes met mine. I expected anger, defiance. But all I saw was emptiness. She had lost everything. After the trial, we had dinner with Rachel and her family. Her kids called me Aunt Amber. Rachel became family, a sister I never knew I had. David and I bought a house, adopted a dog, talked about kids. Life was normal, boring, perfect. 2 years after Linda went to jail, I got a letter. From her. My hand shook as I opened it. It was short. She wasn't apologizing, just explaining. Asterisk, I hated you for years. You had everything I wanted. I wanted to take something from you. Asterisk, she admitted she'd pursued the men, that they'd felt guilty, but she didn't care. Asterisk, except I hadn't won anything. I just destroyed everything, including myself. Asterisk, she ended with, asterisk, you won in the end, though. You got the pastor. The one person I wanted and couldn't have. That must feel good. I hope you're happy. I really do. Because one of us should be, asterisk, I read it 3 times. David said I could report it, that it violated her probation. But I looked at the letter, at her twisted view of winning, and folded it. No, I said. She's already lost everything. What's the point? She still thinks I won because I got you, I said to David. Like you were a prize. Like this was all a competition to her. It was, David said. That's how she saw the world. As a zero-sum game. But that's not how life works. A few months later, I found out I was pregnant. We had a girl. We named her Hope. As I watched my mom hold her, I thought about Linda, how she destroyed every relationship in her life, including the one with her own daughter. I didn't feel angry anymore or triumphant. Just grateful. Grateful that I'd found David, learned the truth, stopped believing I was unlovable. That I'd built a life full of people who actually cared about me. Linda had tried to ruin me, but all she'd done was ruin herself. And I was free. Hope is 3 now. She's funny and bright and fearless. She has David's eyes and my stubbornness and an infectious laugh. Sometimes I think about telling her about Linda when she's older. But mostly I think I won't. Because Linda doesn't deserve to be part of her story. Rachel's kids adore Hope. My parents are active grandparents. My marketing firm, yes, I finally started it, is thriving. Life is good. Truly, deeply good. I heard through my mom that Linda got out of jail a few months ago, moved to another state. I hope she gets help. But honestly, I don't think about it much because the best part about the past few years isn't that Linda faced consequences. It's that I discovered I was never the problem. Those relationships didn't end because I was unlovable. They ended because someone predatory and broken targeted vulnerable young men and manipulated them. It wasn't about me. And once I understood that, everything changed. I stopped questioning whether I was good enough. I stopped waiting for David to leave. I stopped believing there was something inherently wrong with me. I was enough. I'd always been enough. Linda couldn't see it because she couldn't see her own worth either. She'd built her entire identity around external validation from men. When that validation didn't come, she crumbled. I built my identity around knowing who I am, regardless of who does or doesn't love me. That's the difference between us. And that's why I'm here. Happy, loved, whole. And she's wherever she is, still chasing something she'll never find inside herself. Last week, David and I were talking about having another baby. Hope was playing, and he had his arm around me. Can you believe it's been 4 years since we met? He asked. Feels like longer. In a good way. He kissed my forehead. I'm glad you gave me a chance. Even with everything that had happened to you before. I almost didn't, I admitted. I was so scared of the pattern repeating. But it didn't. No, it didn't. Hope ran over, clambered onto David's lap. Daddy, play with me. He stood, lifting her onto his shoulders. What do you want to play? Dragons, he roared, stomping around, Hope giggling, pretending to fly. I watched them, an overwhelming wave of gratitude washing over me. Linda had spent 10 years trying to prove that I couldn't be loved, that I wasn't worth keeping. But all she proved was that broken people break things, and healed people build beautiful lives. I chose healing. And here, right here, in this moment, with my daughter laughing, my husband playing, my family whole, this is what winning actually looks like. Not revenge, not vindication, not seeing your enemy suffer. Just peace. Just joy. Just love that's real and lasting and earned. Linda took 10 years from me, but she couldn't take this. She couldn't take the life I built after she was gone. And that's everything.